There are over 7 billion people inhabiting our planet. This means there are over 7 billion different experiences occurring in each moment. With each experience, we create our own unique story. Oftentimes, the very stories we create can seem to separate us. But are we that different? The same stories that separate us can be the glue that binds us together. I'm Paul E. Hendricks, an author searching for more human connection. Welcome to The Bridge. Paul Leo Klink may be one of the most well-known people on the island of Oahu. Even if you haven't heard of him, you've seen his Live Aloha bumper stickers on cars. Besides being a Hawaii celebrity, he's also known for something else, being resuscitated 29 times. Yet, he wakes up every morning feeling grateful and still proudly lives Aloha. Each episode of The Bridge is centered on a thought-provoking theme. In this story, we explore triumph through adversity. What was the scariest thing that ever happened to you as a child growing up in upstate New York?
Scariest thing, probably my father dying in my hands. That was definitely one of those scary moments of your life.
So, how old were you when that happened?
14.
14. Take me back, what were you feeling during that situation, having your father die in your hands?
I sensed it right when it happened. It was so awesome, scary, exciting. I felt like, more than anything, I felt it was a blessing, because everyone else has to wonder, like, you know, what happened and how it happened, but I was right there. I literally watched him go, and watching him go really took a lot of the mystery out of life and death for me. And I had been going to school to become a priest. I was going through a lot of my life at the time, and that moment was a pivotal moment in my life about reality and choices, and a lot of awesome things that really manned me up in a moment. The first day in my life I ever stayed home from school, ever, since kindergarten. Punctuality is important. I'm waiting home for my dad to show up. I can imagine him getting the deer, dragging it to the road, putting it on the Thunderbird, bringing it home. I know what time he's going to make it. The car pulls in the driveway. I look out the kitchen window. It's freezing cold, about 8 a.m. Looking outside, and the car pulls up, and there's no deer. My dad runs out of the car, runs up the back steps, comes into the kitchen. His hands, his whole body's covered in blood from the deer. I'm like, where's the deer? He says, quick, I got to draw you a map. I don't feel so good. I got to draw a map. I'm just focusing on the map, so make sure I know exactly where the deer is. I tell my uncle. I see the pencil, and then all of a sudden I see like shards of wood shooting in every direction, and the pencil's just emulsified in his hand. Next thing I know, I look up at my dad, and his eyes are rolling in the back of his head, and he starts convulsing, falls off the chair on the floor. And he's a 250, really solid 6'6" guy, really big guy. I pick him up and put him back in the chair, screaming, Dad, what's wrong, what's wrong? And I pick up the phone and call the local fire department, volunteer fire department. I said, listen, my dad's in big trouble. I don't know what's going on. I'm really scared. I could see she sheet his pants. I'm like, what the hell's going on to my dad? The strongest man I met in my life, my best friend, my role model, the guy that taught me to be as goofy as I am, along with my mom, Regina Klink. My dad's Charles Klink. And he's just laying there. And I remember him telling me these stories from when he was in the military, that he knew someone he was with that was shot would die when they she-sheet their pants or lose control. And I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, my dad just died.
What's your definition of adversity?
Adversity for me is situations I'm not prepared for and can't really decide and figure out on my own how to survive and thrive, and not even knowing how to get the resources in those moments, and having that sense of desperation and uncertainty, and where the fear, which I really believe is false evidence appearing real, F-E-A-R, because in my experience, most of the fears I've had were false. But those moments where there's that uncertainty and not knowing how to get out of those situations, not even having faith, knowing how those situations will be resolved, that to me is adversity. Fast forward to January 13th, 2002. I'm on the phone with my assistant of 13 years, Barbara, who's my gargoyle. No evil spirits can get past Barbara. She was the best assistant, receptionist, secretary, and I said she was the chairwoman of the board whether she wanted it or not. I'm on the phone with her, and she says, Paul, go to the emergency room right now. I'm like, what? I'm talking to you on the phone. I'm going up Pi'ikoi to get to the airport to pick up Mom for her 2-week annual vacation. I like, Barbara, whatever you think I need to go to the emergency room for is going to wait till after I pick up Mom. And she goes, nope, you got that rattle in your voice my sister had when she passed away of a heart failure. I'm like, what are you talking about? My voice sounded fine to me. And she said, have I ever lied to you? I'm like, no, why? She goes, if you don't call me back from a Kaiser caller ID in the next few minutes, I'm never talking to you again. And she hung up the phone. I'm like, okay. Run into Kaiser Clinic. Hey, can I borrow your phone? They're like, sure. Pick up the phone, call Barbara. Hey, here I am. Actually, I don't feel so good. And I looked at the nurse across the counter. She goes, you okay? I go, I'm not feeling really good all of a sudden. She goes, do you have any history? I said, nah, I have a cardiologist, but nothing's been found wrong with my heart, and I should be fine, but I don't know, something's wrong. She goes, well, come on back. I went back, and they heard my family's history. My father, my grandfather, everybody passing away before 39. I'm hitting close to 39, and she said, why don't you lay down? The doctor read something about my heart and said, listen, lay down, calm down, we'll figure out what's going on, we'll put in an IV, just in case we need it. And I looked back at my heart monitor, it was in the 60s, 70s, 50, 40, 30, 20, last thing I saw was 14. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'm dead.
So taking those experiences, having this experience of adversity and things, how would you describe triumph?
Triumph for me, back in 1990, I was driving home one night after setting up a computer show on my kiosks, and on the way home, a truck had spilled grease down H1. I slid on the grease for almost a mile and smashed into the back of the truck. I ended up in the hospital for 8 months, and a famous fine art photographer named Kim Taylor-Reese, who does amazing fine art hula photography and sepia because he's colorblind, literally went to the hospital with his girlfriend. He was a MASH nurse in the military, and before that I had helped him with learning how to use Photoshop. I was unconscious. He took me to his home for months to convalesce me, unconscious. I couldn't even say thank you.
Wow.
Knowing that there's people like him, and knowing that there's friends I've made like you and other people here in Hawaii that are real friends. We're all on an island, and you never know whose hand's going to pull you out of the ocean during a hurricane. That beautiful sense to me is the triumph of aloha. Literally this hidden sense of place that can't be captured on a postcard. It can't be described on some special TV show, but it definitely is emoted and shared by locals that it's really hard to understand until you've had adversity and you have these friends coming in and help you triumph. It's never been on my own that I've triumphed. The doctors at Kaiser have bent every rule, learned new technologies, traveled me around the world to keep me alive. Kim Taylor-Reese literally convalesced me for what? For no other reason than this hidden priceless value of aloha. And now we're all best friends, of course, but he's never asked to borrow $10. He's never asked for anything in return. That sense of aloha, being invited to be on the bridge, to me is a big exercise in aloha. I'm very honored and grateful. So to me, those are the triumphs, through gratitude and appreciation.
Yeah.
So when people talk about triumphing over adversity, people are worried about food, shelter, all these things. The only thing I worry about, honestly, is waking up in the morning. People ask me, how am I doing? I'll say, I woke up, arms forward, no casket, and good day. I made it into another one. That's my attitude of gratitude that's instilled for me from my goofy hippie parents since I was born. I don't know what they smoked before I was born, but I just wake up happy. It annoys the hell out of anybody I've ever woken up to in my life, because I just wake up like, yeah, fuck, I made it, shit, woohoo. And so that's where I'm coming from, and the attitude makes all the difference in the world. So for me, I'm just so grateful that you're here listening to me. I'm so honored and humbled and proud that a lot of you are my good friends. If not, you will be. And thank you very much, Paul, again, for letting me speak tonight. I appreciate your time. Aloha and mahalo. Live aloha.
If you or someone you know has a great story to tell, we'd love to hear it. Email us at thebridge@lifestyleonline.com. Follow me on Twitter at Paul E. Hendricks. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thebridgelive.